My alarm didn't wake me up. Nah, that would be too easy. It was the sound of a cat fight, probably over some half-eaten piece of pizza someone threw out last night. I cracked one eye open. The clock read 4:30 a.m. Outside, Boston was still asleep, draped in shadows and shades of gray like an old black and white movie. The sky was a hazy, dark canvas with only the faintest promise of a sun somewhere over the harbor. My apartment in the projects was quiet for once, a rare moment of peace before the daily chaos symphony began its warm-up. I could hear the low hum of the city, a sleeping giant getting ready to roar. I stretched, my bones popping a rhythm only tired folks know, and dragged myself out of bed. The air in my room was stale, thick with the ghosts of last night's takeout and my own questionable life choices. I stumbled over to the window, needing a breath of something that wasn't my own funk. Pushing the old wooden frame up, a gust of surprisingly chilly June air hit my face. It carried the smell of damp pavement and the faint, sweet scent of pastries from the bakery 3 blocks down, a smell that always lied about how good the day was gonna be. Below, the streetlights cast long, lonely shadows on the empty sidewalks. It was that magical, quiet time before the garbage trucks and the screaming matches started their daily duet. For a second, I felt almost peaceful. Then, like a fool, I leaned out a little too far, trying to see the Zakim Bridge peeking between the buildings. My towel, which was barely hanging on for dear life, decided it was done with its shift. It slipped. Just like that, it fluttered down, a sad white flag of surrender, landing 5 floors below in a puddle of something I didn't want to identify. And there I was, bare-assed to the world, with old Mrs. Rodriguez on the 2nd floor just happening to be watering her plastic flowers on her windowsill. We made eye contact. A long, awkward, soul-shattering moment of eye contact. I didn't scream, I didn't duck, I just froze, a naked idiot framed by the dawn. She just shook her head, a look of profound disappointment on her face, and went back to her fake plants. I slammed the window shut so hard the glass rattled, my face burning hotter than a fresh Dunkin hash brown. I dove back into bed, pulling the covers over my head as if the darkness could swallow my shame. What a way to start the day. Already took an L and the sun wasn't even up. My morning shower wasn't just about getting clean, it was a full-on baptism, trying to wash away the sin of flashing my neighbor. I stood under the weak stream of hot water, plotting how I could avoid Mrs. Rodriguez for the next decade. Maybe I'd move. Yeah, move to another city, another country even. After my ritual cleansing of shame, I got dressed and prepared to face the world, or at least the part of it between my front door and the tea station. The hallway smelled like a weird mix of fried plantains from 3B and bleach from 3D, a combination that should be a crime against humanity. I held my breath and hustled down the stairs, stepping over a discarded mattress that had become a permanent resident of the 2nd floor landing. Outside, the sun was finally making an appearance, but it didn't make the street look any better. It just illuminated the mess in high definition. The sidewalk was an obstacle course of cigarette butts, crumpled lottery tickets, and mysterious sticky spots. I did the sidewalk shuffle, a dance every city dweller knows by heart. You weave, you bob, you sidestep, your eyes glued to the ground to avoid the urban landmines. I was so focused on dodging a suspicious-looking puddle that I didn't see the real danger. Squelch. My foot landed squarely in a pile of what I prayed was just mud, but my nose told me a much nastier story. I let out a string of curses that would make a sailor blush, scraping my sneaker on the curb like a madwoman. Of course this would happen. The universe was clearly not on my team today, or any day for that matter. My mood was darker than the coffee I desperately needed. I stomped the rest of the way to the corner, the disgusting smell following me like a loyal but unwanted dog. There it was, my beacon of hope, the orange and pink glow of a Dunkin Donuts sign. Inside, the line was already long, filled with other zombies like me, all seeking caffeinated salvation. I ordered my usual, a large iced coffee, extra cream, extra sugar. It was less a beverage and more a liquid dessert, but it was the only thing that could fix this train wreck of a morning. The cup felt cool and perfect in my hand, a promise of temporary happiness. I stepped out of the store, took a deep, satisfying sip, and felt a flicker of hope. Maybe the day could be salvaged. Maybe the window incident and the poop shoe fiasco were just the opening act. And then, a bicyclist, weaving through pedestrians like he was in the Tour de France, clipped my elbow. My glorious, life-giving coffee went airborne. It flew in a perfect, tragic arc before splattering all over the sidewalk, the plastic cup bouncing into the gutter with a hollow clatter. I just stood there, staring at the brown puddle spreading on the concrete. My coffee was gone. My hope was gone. All that was left was the sticky residue on my hand and the lingering smell of dog crap on my shoe. Defeated and coffeeless, I trudged down the stairs into the bowels of the Orange Line. The familiar scent of stale air, hot metal, and collective human misery filled my nostrils. The platform was packed, a train screeched to a halt, its doors sliding open with a pneumatic sigh, and the human herd pushed its way on. I squeezed into a corner, my back pressed against the cold glass, trying to become invisible. And then I saw him. My neighbor, Kevin. The one who plays his terrible EDM music at 2 a.m. and leaves passive-aggressive notes about the recycling bin. He was standing right across from me, smirking like he owned the place. I hate Kevin with the fire of 1,000 suns. I hate his stupid man bun. I hate his I'm a DJ t-shirt. I hate the way he chews his gum with his mouth open, making these little smacking noises that make me want to commit acts of unspeakable violence. He caught my eye and gave me that little chin lift greeting, the one that says, "I'm better than you." My mind immediately went to a better place, a cartoonish daydream where I suddenly developed superpowers. I imagined my eyes glowing red, laser beams shooting out and turning his stupid man bun into a pile of smoldering ash. He'd look up, confused, as his precious hair floated away like dandelion seeds. My fantasy continued. I pictured myself grabbing the overhead bar, swinging my legs up and delivering a flying dropkick right to his chest. He would fly backward through the train doors, soaring through the air in a perfect Looney Tunes-style arc before landing in the Mystic River. The other passengers would erupt in applause. They'd lift me onto their shoulders, chanting my name, celebrating the hero who freed them from the scourge of bad music and aggressive gum chewing. The train would continue on its way, a little lighter, a little happier, and a lot less annoying. A girl can dream, can't she? Just as my daydream reached its glorious climax, a loud, familiar voice shattered my inner peace. "Ayo, y'all got $1? I need $1." It was Crackman, the neighborhood's unofficial town crier. He stumbled through the car, his eyes wide, his voice a gravelly foghorn. He wasn't really asking for money, he was just making his presence known, a chaotic force of nature in a worn-out jacket. He saw Kevin, pointed a shaky finger at him, and yelled, "Hey! You with the stupid hair? You look like you got $1." Kevin recoiled in horror, and for the first time all morning, I cracked a smile. Maybe Crackman wasn't so bad after all. The train ride from hell finally ended. I practically leaped off at my stop, gasping for fresh air like a fish thrown back into the water. Even the exhaust-choked air of downtown Boston felt clean after being trapped in that rolling sardine can with Kevin and Crackman. I watched the train pull away, taking my annoying neighbor with it, and felt a wave of relief so powerful it was almost dizzying. He was gone, out of my sight, out of my life, at least for the next 8 hours. The morning had been a relentless assault on my sanity, a comedy of errors scripted by a cruel and unusual God. But surviving it felt like a victory. I started my walk to work, my poopy shoe a distant memory, my public nudity a story for another day. The city was fully awake now. The black and white dawn had been replaced by the full-color chaos of a weekday morning. Cars honked, sirens wailed, and people rushed past me with grim determination. The Boston skyline, with the Hancock and Prudential Towers piercing the sky, looked sharp and imposing. It was a concrete jungle, for sure, a place that would chew you up and spit you out if you weren't careful. But it was my jungle. Every cracked sidewalk, every weird smell, every loudmouth character was part of the fabric of my life. As I rounded the final corner, I saw my office building. The day ahead would be long and probably filled with its own unique set of frustrations. But the worst was over. I had faced down public humiliation, biological warfare on the sidewalk, a coffee-related tragedy, and my mortal enemy, all before 9 a.m. What else could the world possibly throw at me? I felt strangely light, unburdened. The weight of the morning's disasters had somehow lifted, leaving behind a weird sense of accomplishment. I had navigated the obstacle course and made it to the finish line. I walked through the revolving doors, leaving the noise and the grit of the city behind. No more annoying neighbors, no more Crackman, no more surprise nudity. For now, anyway. In the quiet, air-conditioned lobby, I took a deep breath. I was a survivor, a warrior. I had stared into the abyss of a truly terrible Boston morning, and I hadn't blinked. Well, I blinked when I saw Mrs. Rodriguez, but that doesn't count. I was here, I was whole, and most importantly, I was free. Until tomorrow, at least.